I have to thank her for her timeless effort that she puts in supporting me. I'm going to say a little bit of things. I'm kind of known for giving a little bit of speeches. I'm a young guy. Don't take it as preaching. Just take it as words of advice through life lessons. There's a lot of things that happened for me. I had a kid at 21 years old. I graduated college the same day that she was born. Best thing that ever happened in my life. There's a lot of people out there that thought it would ruin things, and actually it made the best thing happen in the world, because I get to watch her and my other two daughters grow every day, and that's hands down the best thing that ever happened to me. So the other thing is, don't take anything for granted. Showing will be done. You'll hang up your clothes. There's always something you can do to help someone moving up and learning in this deal. So don't take for granted the stress and the time that's in when you're showing. Just remember the time that you're here with family and with friends, and be able to enjoy that. I promise you those memories will last with you longer than the banners will, because they'll fade, they'll get dust on them, you'll sell your show clothes and you won't ever get to step into it. Remember those times, cherish those moments that you have out here. I'm the first to grip and grime about county fairs when we show at them, because normally they're pretty strugglesome to get through. I had a pleasure of finally going back to my hometown. It's been 6 years since I've been back. And the one thing that stood out more than anything was the support that you can give, because that's where I grew up. That's how I got to go into showing, and trust me, I had lots of last place, but that's where my passion grew, was my family pushing me to do better, my family always supporting me. So thank those ones that are supporting you and pushing you, and the community that's around you, because that's pretty special. That sticks with me day in, day out. Got to see them, and that support that you have with your family is second to none. So make sure you thank them as well. Lastly, this world can be pretty scary right now. There's a lot of things happening that's really unkind and really nasty out there. What we're doing right here is the best thing that you can put your kids in, because you're not only teaching them to have a work ethic, but more importantly, you're teaching these kids to have a kind heart. It takes a lot of effort and time and care to put into these projects, whether you're showing pigs, sheep, goats, cattle, whatever it may be. These are some of the best kids out there, because they make sure their animals are taken care of before themselves most days. So congratulations to you guys and your families for putting them in something that I think is absolutely incredible. Last thing I'll leave you with before we start talking about these pigs is always thank the Lord that we're here today. We get to do what we love in a country that's amazing. Never forget that. Always be kind. You never know what someone's going through. A kind word, a kind mention to somebody can go a long ways. Let's fire these things back up real quick. The 3 division winners that come out here are very good. The lightweight comes out. Man, that guy hit me hard in division, just in terms of his look, his build, and his pattern from the side, spot on. You get on top of him, I still think his shape's very, very fresh. Critics can say he's a little flat-footed and frail jawed, but man, from there back, I think that bear is very, very good in terms of his mobility and shape that he has. The middleweight bear comes out. Man, I get goosebumps watching this bear, because I think that one's the right kind and the right speed of where we're at. Stout-featured, awesome skull shape in him. His blade is set into him the correct way. That guy is fresh and rolled up in terms of his upper skeleton, and he has the rear leg that's needed today in show pigs in terms of flex and reach and usage of his lower joints. Then the blue bear, gilt comes out. That one was a monster in that class, or in that division, stuck out. Hard in terms of her shape. She's so three-dimensional when you study her, in her forerib, her upper cage, her upper hip. That one's just very stout and powerful. I like these 3 quite a bit. I'm going to ask one thing, you guys. This makes a lot of noise. We're about to go pick a champion bear out here and change a person's life.
Your grand champion market hog is exhibited by Aubrey Sale Bloom from the 40s Winers Community Club.
Now comes out reserve champion middleweight, Tucker Martin.
That bear's special. I think that one's very, very good, and it's impressive to see him here. I think that one could play at a multitude of levels that one's shown at. He does just so many things right. That reserve comes out. That was the freak of the division in terms of outlier pieces that he has. That one's throat and neck is blended so well to the top side of his skeleton. He's stout and shaggy in terms of his feature. He's still fresh. Questioned him just a little bit when he got out here for division in terms of his rear leg mobility. If you actually study his footwork, his joint work, everything's assembled the right way. Honestly, that one just kind of is memorable in his kind, not only in terms of color pattern, but just the things that he's able to put together. That's my next favorite. He'll be reserved. Congratulations to him.
Your reserve champion is Tucker Mockridge from the 40 Swiners Community Club.
So now they will bring out third place.
Third out in that division comes out, and this will be the last time I get in the mic and discuss him. He came into that division as the one that's real stout in terms of his feature, really great in terms of his body shape and his imagery from the side and silhouette that he paints. Maybe gets a little vanilla on us in terms of shape up high and rounder towards his edge. But man, that guy's look and shape that he has up in terms of his skull and his upper hip still very good. He moves out, and that's a monster when he comes at you in terms of chest. That's my next favorite. She'll be third out. Congratulations to her.
So now they're bringing out fourth place in that division. And I think he will just select them as they come out. I don't think he's going to talk them anymore.
So what does it mean for the person who wins this title?
You know, it means that it's a lot of hard work to get to where they got. And it just shows that hard work paid off, and it's just honestly a memory forever that they're going to have that banner to hang up in their room or wherever they hang it up, and they'll never forget it.
You know, you're evaluating these pigs on a lot of their physical features. How much of that has to do with the work that the owner put in versus just good genes?
Yeah, so a lot of it is good genes, but you got to also feed the right feed. You got to look at where they're at today, what kind of feed they need, what kind of work they need done, how they need to be shown. You know, it really is a lot of things that go into it, but it is a lot of genetics too.
Looks like we're down to the last couple pigs here. How have your impressions of these pigs lined up with the order that they've been placed in, Kylie?
Yeah, I think the judge has done a good job in selecting the pigs that need to be selected. I mean, it really is just personal preference when it comes down to it, but I think he's done a good job today in selecting the right pigs in the right positions. A lot of these kids have been in 4-H for a long time, since they were 9, and it really is impressive to see all the improvement from when they were smaller all the way up until now. And it's just good to see these kids still coming out and showing up, putting in the work.
I guess it's a combination, not just your approach to raising the animal, but also fine-tuning kind of the showmanship aspect of it.
Thank
That's a
you
big
for
part of
attending
it,
the
too.
Swine drive. The goats are next in the beef barn.
These young people have their goats fed out right, presented right, and they look good, and they made the goat show tough. And we get out here in our champion drive, and we start having to dissect some things. And I think we get out here, and it gets interesting for me, because I think there's some give and take. I know we got some differences in size, and maybe we get out here and we got some smaller ones we like pretty good, but we got to ask if they're big enough at this stage of the game. We got some big ones we got to ask if they're cool enough. And so we're going to talk about them just real quickly. I'll talk about the front lineup and a couple of just big blanket statements about the goats behind them. The lightweight division today, when that division came in, that first class, and our champion lightweight came out of that first class, he was the first goat to hit the ring. I was like, oh gosh, we're in for a real big time goat show today, because that one's awfully good. His athleticism, his body shape, the way he runs uphill, the way he touches and grabs is ultra good. That one, for being one for me, I label as a good looking athletic one. Man, is that one opened up still from front to rear. He's big and chiseled out in his forearm. He's opened up at the bottom side of his body. The curvature, the roundness to his rib tucks up good. Love that one's touch and freshness and youthfulness when we got on top of him. We talked about, I know he's still young. He'd be a little bigger in his bone shape, maybe compared to a couple others. Maybe he could cooperate a little bit neater. I got on him to show a little bit how he handled his hock as he goes away. He's wide enough that he could be a little bit looser. I thought in the big ring tonight, he actually handled his rear joint a little bit better than he did earlier today. I think that's a very nice goat, and he really represents that division awfully well. We had a reserve in that division that's awfully good too, that counters him in terms of being stout, opened up and powerful and just really meaty. Maybe not as neatly made up front or relaxed in his joints. The third overall in that division's awfully cool looking, just wanted to blow him apart from a basic build standpoint and a width and squareness of skeleton standpoint. We got in our middleweights, and that division got interesting. This white goat came out of the class where that red goat was second right behind him. There was a black goat in that same class that was awfully good too. That class was really tough. I like this goat. I know a lot of people say the word complete is next to the word common in the dictionary, but man, that one is super complete but not common. I think that one's opened up. He's good in his body shape. He's good in terms of his touch quality. I think he balances up like a man. He exudes powerness from the side. He still gives us a good athletic look as well. I think that's a very nice goat to represent the division. Moved on down, that red goat there. I wish he looked the same stuck as he does moving. That's a dense, good muscled one that balances up good. The third overall in that division. I like his skeleton. I like his look. Wanted to change him at the top part of his shoulder and make him handle a nickel bit harder, but that's a very, very good goat. Thought a very, very difficult division. We got in our heavyweights. When you start getting these up in these weights and these small runners, you got to have some give and take in terms of freshness and youthfulness and where they're at this stage of the game. The heavyweight champion, I just thought that weight, I was comfortable with him in terms of his freshness, how he's opened up. He still looks like a big heavyweight goat that's good in terms of his body shape and his touch. I can make him look a little neater up front. He can have a little bit more dimension there at the base of his stifle. But when you just start talking basic livestock stuff, he's good in his basic build. He's round in his body shape. He's got muscle. Maybe he could be a little prettier looking compared to some others out here. That's a good type of a heavyweight goat. The reserve is one for me. I wish he was bigger boned and bigger ended as we watched him, because if he did, I think that one's awfully good. He does the basic things good too. He's just practical, good footed, good livestock. That's good in terms of his body shape. Had some muscle as well. Maybe he gets a little bit frailer and plainer in terms of just how much density he has in his bone work. One as well too in terms of his body shape. Could be just a little bit more athletic in the way it's gauged into him. I think that's a very nice goat. The third heavyweight in that division, in terms of skeletal quality, look and balance, and how he gets about the pin, is probably my favorite. But we talked about him in that drive. He's just got to supply a lot more muscularity and dimension on that skeletal system for us to get him any higher in this division. Really good goat show. I know I just went through it real quick, but big picture, guys, make sure to go thank everyone we talked about, because that's a big deal. They put on an awesome show for you. The show staff makes it super organized, makes it very easy to work with as well. You guys had a great stage to exhibit your projects and all of your hard work. One more time, let's give all the goat exhibitors a big round of applause. We'll get you guys a lineup here in a second.
All right, so we are in the cattle barn where we're looking at the goat championship drive. Second of our 4 drives. We just had the pigs earlier. Once again, I'm Matt Bowling. Joining me for the goat drive is Linkville 4-H leader Mandy Rogers. Mandy, what are your impressions of this field?
So today I think we have a really nice lineup. We've got some variations in animals. Your first row kids, the 2 girls and the gentleman up front, each of their goats are very nice. And as you can say, so this girl, she just won your grand champion, and then we move forward. So second place in that division will move forward. The lightweight one just won reserve.
Congratulations to our grand champion
And so now
meat
he's
goat,
going to
Kelsey
place
Whitaker,
these guys. So he'll place
and our
the next
reserve
third
champion meat
through
goat,
whatever number
Jamie
we got
Whitaker.
out there. And those will be their sale orders as well. So these kids work real hard to achieve this every year. So I think they do a fabulous job.
What makes a championship goat? What are the qualities that set these apart from the others?
So to me, your championship goat is one that genetically has been bred correctly. You're looking for great structure, you're looking for bone depth, you're looking for hide, you're looking for multiple different things. And then the other thing is it's got to be fed properly too, because nutrition is major important. You can take something that's halfway decent and feed it correctly and make it really good.
Third overall goes to Jamie Whitaker.
Genetics, feed, care, hair
Fourth
care,
overall
all
to
of those
Jason Kern.
are important to make your champion. And these children have obviously done it because this is your final drive.
Just like with the pigs, they all had to go through preliminary rounds to get to this point.
That's right. All these guys showed earlier today. They all have won their class. So these guys are all your first and second, third place out of all those
overall
classes.
to
So
Stephanie Galvin.
these guys have beat out everybody else to come
7th,
compete against
Preston
each other.
Stabler. 8th, Paisley Crawford, and 9th, Meredith Brown.
And
One
then
more
as he
time for our
places
goat
them,
exhibitors.
that will be their sell order from your champion down to the last one that was placed.
So why is sell order so critical?
So sale order is really important because sometimes sales fluctuate like any type of auction. You know, usually your grand and your reserve go for the big dollar money, and then you kind of fluctuate throughout it as your buyers decide they want to either go in together or individuals buy them. So you want, and obviously those people that are purchasing your auction animals want the top quality animals. So it's really important that these guys are all placed. These guys will all be your top sellers, and they sell by themselves. The kids that did well, that got blue ribbons right behind these guys, they'll sell in pins of 2. So this is kind of like these guys all get to sell by themselves. That's a big deal.
You know, other than more money, more return on the investment, because it's a big investment raising these animals.
It absolutely is.
Other than that, what do you think kids get from winning these titles?
So I think from winning these titles, these kids are building their confidence in their own ability to choose an animal, to raise an animal, to see that their hard work and dedication in the barn, all those tireless hours, all the trips with their friends that they give up, or their sports that they have to come home after sports and raise these animals really pays off. It makes them feel very accomplished. This is teaching our kids to be responsible, productive people in society.
We would like to welcome in our sheep division. Go slow, wait, no, slow down,
All right, so now they're bringing in the sheep
Congratulations to the
division.
following exhibitors.
This will be our
Elena
third championship
Gonzalez.
drive.
Tatiana Graham,
We're going to hand it off.
Macy Thompson,
Big thanks to Mandy Rogers
Luke
for joining
Mathis.
us, and she's going to hand it off
Rebecca
now. I think
Rogers.
you know this person pretty well, Mandy.
Bailey
My
Ladner,
daughter, Bailey Rogers.
All right.
Reagan Bjork,
Well, welcome in, Bailey. And
Armida Kirkpatrick,
you see they're parading the
Gianna
sheep
Carson.
around now.
Yes.
Jenna
Now they're bringing in
Melsness,
the final drive, and they're going to
Sophia
give us a good show today.
Alvarado.
We've got a lot of high-quality lambs in here.
Amara Hill,
So what are the qualities that the judge is going to be looking for when he's evaluating these
Whiting.
lambs?
So when we're evaluating lambs,
Shear,
we're really looking for something that's
Kate
really extended throughout
Mathis,
that front one end.
Lyric
And we're also looking for
Sizemore,
something that's got a lot of shape to it. And what I mean by that is
Madison
that we're looking for
Lacey,
something that's really wide. And I mean the
Wyatt
extensive and best cut of
Thompson,
meat of a lamb is going to be that loin
Aaron
area, which
Reeves,
is right in the middle of their back. So we're looking for that to be really
Katarina
hard
Greb,
to the touch, which means it's fresh, it's got enough protein,
Bree
and enough
Parrish,
fat on there to make it feel really good and really fresh, which
Mackenzie
is something
Galvin,
that's good to eat at the end of the day.
Troy
We're also looking for
Ramirez,
these lambs to be chocked full of muscle, which
Kylie
is,
Schwager,
we've got,
and
bigger rear
Grace
ends, big through that
Robotech.
hip,
Let's give
big
these
through that,
exhibitors a round of applause.
last 1/3 of their body. So that's what we're really looking for today.
This has been an incredible sheep show. We have the
we've
deepest
got a
set
lot
of
of
lambs that
high-quality
we've
lambs out
ever
here, so it's
had,
gonna be really
and these
interesting to see how
exhibitors
this
have
goes.
worked really hard to get to this point. At this time, I'd like to welcome our judge for the second year in a row, Mr. Clay Weber.
Clay Weber was also judging the preliminary
Clay grew
rounds
up in
yesterday.
California, raising and showing Dorset sheep. He attended college at Modesto Junior College, Oklahoma State University, and Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. Later, he migrated to Oregon, where he currently lives with his family and raises blackface show lambs, in addition to coaching the Lynn Benton livestock judging team. Let's give Clay a round of applause and thank him for his time at the Klamath County Fair.
So you see him kind of feeling every lamb. That's where he's checking those parts that you talked about.
Absolutely. He's checking to see how the sheep's hide feels. We want them to feel almost like velvet. We want them to be really smooth to the touch, really hydrated, and a lot of times that means that comes with the hardness that I was talking about. We want them to feel super fresh, and that's exactly what he's checking right now.
Takes a lot of focus when you're in the ring to keep those sheep contained. You see, got kind of a pretty strong grip there on the head.
Yeah, we tend to have a stronger grip on the head, and these ones that are really trained out here, you eventually get to a point where it's a really light touch, but sometimes these guys can act up a little bit, so you've got to have a good grip on them and a good push into them to get all the parts where they need to be.
It seems to be a bit more of an intensive judging process than we saw with the pigs and the goats. Is that more a reflection on the animal, or does it vary by judge?
I think it varies by judge, and also it kind of varies by how each superintendent decides they want to put on a show. Typically, we see a lot more lambs coming back just based on how many they want to bring back to the final drive. Typically, with the goats, we only have a couple out there, and I think it's just dependent on what kind of the staff who's putting on the show, how many they want to bring back. But it is a lot more intensive with the sheep. There's a lot to look through here.
He's pulling a few out of line now.
Yeah, so right now he's already started placing and making his decision, so he's going to start pulling from the bottom to the top. So we're seeing these are kind of our lower end here in the final drive, and he's going to make his way towards his grand champion.
What's going through your mind while you wait to see where your animal places?
What's going through your mind? I mean, I've been in this position a few times myself, and it's really just a lot of nerves and a lot of, I can only do what I can only do. I've worked this hard to get my animal here. This is where it all ends, and you just have to kind of be proud of yourself in this moment. Making it to the final drive is a huge deal, no matter where you place in the drive, and so it's just kind of like, I mean, for me, it was always just I've done what I can do. Now I hope he picks me.
And a lot of it can be very subjective too,
Absolutely.
especially anytime you have just one person judging.
Yeah, when you have one person judging, a lot of the time it comes down to just personal preference. You know, we have a standard set for these animals, and some judges like them more extended. Some judges like them a lot with a lot more shape to them, and so it's really all based on personal preference at the end of the day. But we still do kind of have to follow that standard of what we want an animal to look like. So that's really what it comes down to. I've been to shows where we've had multiple judges, and it's really interesting to see the varying opinions, but we just got one out here today, and we're going to see how it goes.
Looks like we're about roughly halfway through the field.
Yeah, it's going to start getting tougher for him throughout here now.
One of the things we were talking about in the previous drives is that the higher you finish, the higher you go in the cell order.
Yes, the higher you finish, your grand champion and your reserve are going to obviously go first, and then all of these kiddos, right, that we have out here, wherever he places them, that's however their cell order is going to be, and then those who didn't make it to the final drive tonight, they're going to be decided by the superintendents based on how they placed in their preliminary classes.
Cell order is important.
Yes, very important. It's very important to be up higher up in that sale order just so you can get a good price for your lamb.
Good return on investment because a lot goes
Absolutely.
into raising these animals.
Yes, there's a lot. It's a lot of feed management, time management, being able to put the time in to work them, because at the end of the day, you could have such a nice lamb out here, but if you haven't put in the time at home to really work these guys, it might not show in the ring. So got to put in a lot of work at home.
Down to top 10 now, it looks like.
Yes. There's a lot of good lambs out here. I know I keep saying it, but this is probably one of the highest quality sheep shows I've seen here. And it's really cool to see because there's quite a few out here that are ranch raised, which means that they have bred these animals themselves and they're bringing them out here to show to the judge today.
We've talked about it too with the other drives, is how much goes into how much of how these lambs turn out is the result of the owner's approach to raising them versus just good genes.
Honestly, it's almost 80% of it. I think structure and genetics and what animal you get or you raise is really important, but managing a feed program, and for these guys it's a leg wool program, managing a program for these, it's 80% of the work. Putting in the time at home to properly feed and prepare these animals is what's really important here, because without doing that time at home, these kids would not be standing out here today. It's honestly the most important thing you can do. It's all about the owner's approach to it and how they choose to raise this animal and the time that they put into it.
And we are now down to 8. I think that's 7. Judge evaluating and reevaluating. Very
Yeah.
thorough job here.
Yes, it's a very tough job to make, especially when you've got these nice lambs, this nice of lamb out here. He's got to evaluate and evaluate and evaluate to really decide where he wants. I know emotions are running high, especially for me. I've got quite a few kids out there that I've helped a lot and worked with, and so it's definitely emotions, and it's all running high right now.
So we're down to the top 5, and it looks like he's going to talk about this group.
Okay, so they make me work just a little bit harder than some of these other judges in the sheep ring. We brought 25 that we had given purples earlier today. We bring them back out here. This is a lot like judging a big class at a major stock show. You've got all good ones in here, and you got to figure out, you know, hey, how we're going to rank them from 25th up to honestly champion and reserve. So we've still got 5 out here, and again, we'll let them sweat for a few minutes. I'll say a few words. I'll keep it a little bit shorter just because, you know, this takes a little bit longer than some of the other drives. But what I want to do, and I'm going to echo a few things. Look, you've had great judges so far. Justin Mosier and the hog ring was exceptional. A friend of mine, Nolan Hildebrand, did a great job not only discussing the goats, but talking about, you know, how special it is at county fairs. You know, and think about it. And I was talking to a good friend of mine ringside just a few minutes ago. You know, some of you that are parents now, you grew up in this show ring. You showed cattle here. You started as a young kid that was scared, didn't know what you were doing in this ring. And by the time you were 18, you were walking out of here proud because you won something at this county show. I mean, that is huge when you think about it and what you're passing on to your kids here. Klamath County, you do something really special. A lot of counties don't do it like this, and they need to. You know, you've got great people that believe in this program, that put a lot of effort in putting this show on, and they do something in a grand drive that really is special. Put your hands together. Let's thank the people here that put a lot of time and effort into this event. So you know, that's the big thing. County fair is always special. You know, we've always got bigger aspirations, but you know what? When you go to your county fair, you want to win your county fair. And look, we've got a set of sheep here that can win a lot of county fairs. And it's not just your champion reserve. It's down the line. This is a really, really tough lineup, and I haven't even figured out the top 5 yet. So I'm telling you, this is a really good show. This is a special event. And think about your judges here. Justin Mosier, Nolan Hildebrand, you know, just in Tulsa, you know, in the fall. Jim Desmukes, and I go way back. That is a real cow guy. That's somebody that grew up, that's grassroots cattle, that knows exactly what he's doing. So again, you know, it's not about me. It's about the other judges that this fair has come up with. A pretty elite county show, in my opinion, in terms of who is analyzing the livestock. What else is elite about this show is these kids in the ring. Okay, look at them out here. They're intense, they want it, they've worked hard, and you have helped them. So again, the last thing I'm going to say is, yes, thank the people that make this special. Thank the people that support your auction, number one. Thank the people that put on a great event, and then make sure you reward these kids because they come out here and they have competed hard. And look, I like this. I like having challenging decisions to make, and I got some coming up. So again, it's been my pleasure. This is my second year, probably my final year, but I'm glad I finally got to Klamath County to judge this show. Thank you very much.
All right, so from the final 5, looks like we will shortly see the selection of the grand champion. So 5th place and 4th place just selected. And one more additional evaluation for the top 3.
This is a really high quality top 3 right here.
So he's having him do a lap.
Another really important piece of evaluating these lambs is making sure that they move correctly, that they land on their feet well, they track in their own path, that they don't step out weird or anything like that, so we know that they're structurally where they need to be.
So there's the 3rd place.
All right, I wasn't going to take any more of your time, but then I decided to take a little more of your time because I didn't get to talk about some of these sheep because they were purples, and we kind of put them aside in the show and said, hey, we'll talk about them later. Well, the way it works out, we don't have a lot of time to talk about each one of them. But I mentioned in my original statement that this is from top to bottom an excellent set of sheep. And each one of those classes, I was thinking to myself, man, I'd like to talk about them. You know, when you think about the basics, you know, and of course, we're talking about market lambs, we're talking about fundamental market stock, right? Muscularity, trimness, high cutability. But there's a lot that goes along with that. To come into a show ring and to be able to win, you got to look good. You got to be built right. You got to be sound. You got to be flexible. You got to balance with quality. And look, there's a bunch of them that do that very well. There's a couple, obviously, that are out here that are elite in that regard, and they could go to a bunch of shows and they could win at a very high level. But there's a very, very competitive set of sheep here, and I've enjoyed it from top to bottom. So again, I'm not going to say any more. After this, I'm done. I'm going to go out and select your grand champion and reserve grand champion. Again, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Grand Champion Market Lamb goes to Jenna Milsness. Reserve Grand Champion Market Lamb goes to Wyatt Thompson. Congratulations.
So Jenna Milsness with the Grand Champion Market Lamb. And she also did very well in the preliminary yesterday. She won the Supreme Champion U at the preliminary round.
Yes, she had a very, very competitive breeding piece that she took into the classes yesterday and did very well with that animal there as well. And yesterday, actually, our Reserve Grand Champion Market Lamb also had the Reserve Supreme Breeding U yesterday. So it's two very competitive individuals out there.
So that does it for the lambs. We are going to have the final championship drive here in a few minutes with the cattle. You might be able to see there in the back, they're starting to bring him in. Well, Bailey, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It was great to be up here and get to spread some knowledge.
Okay, Miss Klamath County, Miss City of Sunshine. What are your names?
Alyssa and Valerie.
Alyssa and sorry?
Valerie.
Valerie. Okay, joining us now in the booth, we've got Miss Klamath County, Alyssa, and Miss City of Sunshine, Valerie. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having us.
What brings you out to today's championship drive?
Well, we are super lucky to come and just help out and walk around and look at all the sheep and just say hi. And we actually ended up missing the beginning part because we got lost around here, but we'll be back tomorrow helping out, handing out awards, and talking to the kiddos.
I've gotten lost here before, so don't worry about it. So tell me, you both have separate titles, but similar. You got similar crowns. So what's the differences in your roles?
Well, honestly, there's not a whole lot of difference. Like, we are both kind of equal. We're both here to support our community, and that's kind of what the role is of having this crown, is just to be as supportive as we can and do as much as we can for this town.
Yeah, they're equal titles. We just are fortunate enough to have enough scholarship dollars to have two of us. Not every county has that ability, so we both got a lot of scholarship dollars from the Klamath County organization, and we're just fortunate to be able to go into the community and help everybody out and have a good time.
So where can people see you in the community other than here at the championship drive?
Well, that's the fun part. You got to go out to find us, right? No, we're usually at most things. We helped with Friends of the Children. We've done a lot of the Klamath Basin, just different. We do most of the children events. There's a lot that we do, honestly. But if you go to it, we'll probably be there. One of us, at least. We also have teens that aren't here today, but they'll be here tomorrow.
Yeah, we keep busy with our separate lives as well, traveling around. But when we can make it, we're definitely there.
True.
What have your impressions been of the drive so far?
Okay, well, the first impression is, the first thing I said is that I wanted to see the sheep with their full afro. I would love that. They just look so fluffy and cute. I would absolutely love that. But to be honest, I don't know a lot about this, so it's really interesting to watch how obedient they get the animals and how everybody's so invested. I love seeing just groups of people that have their own thing and their own drive and community. So it's been really fun to meet everybody.
Yeah, and I think that too, seeing how hard these kids work. I mean, they're working around the clock, mornings, all around, year round, just to get these animals to work out for them. And they're all putting in so much effort, and it is so impressive to see at their age as well.
Yeah, and we even get to bring in, we were just talking to Tracy Reed, and she was saying that tomorrow there's an opportunity for individuals with disabilities to participate as well. So there's a lot of community here, and it's really great.
All right, Miss Klamath County, Alyssa, Miss City of Sunshine, Valerie, any final thoughts?
No, we're just excited to be here. If you come to the Klamath County Fair, we'll probably see you. Yeah.
All right, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
4 pounds, exhibited by Alex Thomas. From Class 2, weighing 1232, Paisley Walling. Anna Cleaver, and he actually weighed 1180. Sorry. Class 3, weighing 1232, exhibited by Paisley Walling. From Class 4, Chad Sweat at 1244. Class 5, we've got William Bloom, 1268. Class 6, Alana Cleaver, 1342. Coming out of Class 7, Mackenzie Lyman, 1364. From Class 8, Cade Cleaver, 1422. And coming out of Class 9, Cabela Wright, 1460. Our other other purple ribbon winners waiting outside the ring: Camden Cantrell, Charlie Thomas, Coulter Say, Cade Barney, Tate Freeman, Ellie Huffman, Tia Ongman, Zach Sweat, Lola Howard, Ella Lyman, Riley Hensley, Emery Huffman, Hadley Woods, and Spencer Woods. Let's congratulate all of our purple ribbon winners. Our judge for this evening is Mr. Jim Dismukes. He hails from Chakota, Oklahoma, by way of Elk Grove, California. He raises registered Angus and Charolais seed stock, marketing 250 bulls annually by private treaty. He also sells beef direct to consumer. Jim has shown cattle on local, state, and national level at a very high level, and his daughters are now following that tradition and exhibiting cattle. Let's welcome Jim to the Klamath County Fair.
All right, we are into the final leg of our championship drive, and it is the cattle drive. I'm Matt Bowling once again. Joining me in the booth for this one is longtime cattle shower Maddie Bloom. Maddie, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
What are your impressions looking down at this field here?
Yeah, so there was 9 classes of steers today, and they had about 6 entries in each. So right now we've got the top 9 steers out here. They range from about 1,100 pounds to about 1,500 pounds. So there's some really nice cattle out here today. The cattle show is deep this year, so that's exciting to see.
Now you've also got some experience with swine. Imagine you're fairly familiar with some of the other animals too. What's the difference? What's different about raising a cow versus a pig or a goat or a sheep?
Yeah, so the rest of the projects are probably about half the amount of time. I mean, I know that some of the kids here have calves at home that they're starting to halter break and get ready for next year. So it's a long, long time. It's a huge time commitment. When they work these things, you can see their hair is, I mean, long and pretty, and I mean, they're beautiful. So it takes hours in the barn to get them looking like this. It doesn't happen overnight. The hard work that goes into these calves is a huge work, and it's a lot of nights in the barn and months that go into it.
What kinds of attributes is the judge going to be looking for when he's evaluating these cows?
Yeah, so he's going to look at how they're moving off all 4 feet, if they're sound, and then you notice he'll go up and feel them, and so when he's going up to feel them, he's feeling their muscle shape, he's feeling how finished they are. So he's just kind of feeling underneath that pretty hair to see if there's actually substance to these calves and what their substance feels like, because this judge knows his stuff, so he should be able to feel and kind of see like what in his mind they should grade. So that's what he's looking at when he feels them. He's looking at if they've got a long neck that comes right out of their shoulders, that they're straight in their top line, that they're big and square from behind. It's kind of just some of the things that he's looking at.
You know, a common theme that I've heard today is that a lot of the success of an animal comes down basically just to genetics, but the work that the owner puts in also plays an important role.
Yeah, there's a big thing to that. I mean, you can't have an animal, if you're going to put the work in, it's only going to be as good as its genes are. I mean, you can have the hardest work ethic, you can do all the stuff right, and unfortunately it comes down to sometimes what that animal's bred to look like, just like I'm sure you've heard before, and that plays a big part into these calves. I mean, you can have one that there might be some kids in the barn that have worked just as hard as these kids have, and unfortunately maybe they fell a little bit behind just because of what their genes were and their genetics looked like. But yeah, that definitely plays a huge role into it. And there's also a lot of steers in here too that actually the two of these steers were in the grand drive for the ranch race yesterday, and they went grand in reserve. So it's very cool to see that those kids' projects are also competing with kids that go out and buy those species. So that's cool to see.
How much extra work is it to raise one farm raised versus going out and buying one?
Yeah, so it's a lot. I mean, cows are bred for 9 months. So these kids that are breeding them are breeding like 2 to 3 years out. So, and I mean, once they hit the ground, they've got vaccines from when they're little, and then they're halter breaking them themselves, and they're showing them as their calves and all that kind of stuff. And so there's definitely a whole nother aspect to it that some of these kids that just go out and buy the calves, it's just as much work, but it's definitely an added chunk of time just purely because they've got a plan so far out.
Now, we've seen the judges for now in the cattle competition and just earlier for the sheep competition, a lot more thorough in their evaluations of the animals than with the pigs and the goats. Is that typical, or does it kind of just depend on the judge and their approach?
Yeah, so it kind of depends on the judge. It's definitely personal preference for them, but I can tell you that you got to get your hands on a lamb. You've got to feel what they feel like, because, I mean, you don't want a too fat lamb, you want a lamb with some fat in it. So, and the same with the calves. I mean, some of these steers have so much hair that you're not going to be able to see and feel what's underneath it unless he's standing there and looking at them and trying to pick them apart so that he knows what his top end looks like.
And as somebody who's been down in that ring, what goes through your mind when you reach this stage of the competition?
I can tell you, I've talked to all these kids tonight, and they're just proud. I mean, those kids have worked their ass off, and it's cool to see that that's shown, and they've been able to come out here and show their projects off. But I can also tell you the pits in their stomach right now is real. Yeah, I know that there's a lot of adrenaline going through their bodies, and it's cool to see that they can still all stay calm out there, though, and show these steers to their best ability. But it's definitely nerve-wracking.
As we've mentioned with the other 3 drives, where you place it also determines your sell order, which can make a significant difference.
Yeah, it really can. Yeah, so it's cool. I actually grew up for probably until I was about 15. I grew up in Northern California, and they didn't do that. They just did your top 6, and then from there on it was just kind of random draw. And it's definitely cool to see, because those top end projects are the ones that deserve to be there, and they deserve to maybe probably have those higher prices because those kids have probably put in a little bit more work than that bottom end.
Always great to get a good return on investment.
Yep.
Because it certainly is an investment.
Yeah, it's a lot.
All right, looks like the judge is going to say a few
Well,
words,
I'll
give an
try not to
evaluation.
sound like a broken record here with all the other judges, but I will share their sentiment. First and foremost, what you guys have here in Klamath and the West Coast, to be honest. I grew up in Elk Grove, showed all my junior career in Sacramento County down there in California, and so I'm real familiar with county fairs that are like this. Maybe not to this level, because Sacramento County wasn't at the level that Klamath is here, but intimate with the market-ready, non-market-ready steers, steers that go custom resale, all that sort of stuff. I grew up doing that. Since we've moved to Oklahoma, I can tell you that our county fairs in Oklahoma aren't like this. We don't have terminal sales with steer numbers like this. We have what you call premium auctions. And to be honest, I don't really, I much prefer what you guys have here. So we need to really put our hands together, and let's thank the organizations here, the extension, the 4-H programs, the people that are putting on this show, the people that bring the buyers, the auctioneers. The support that you guys will get in this community is huge. I can tell you, we would try to start a county fair like this in McIntosh County in Oklahoma, where I'm from, and it would not be successful, because they just don't do it like you guys do it here. We wouldn't have the support from the businesses and such. So you guys are doing a great thing here. Not going to go into any more detail in that. In this cattle deal, there's been a lot of quality we've had to sort through, some structural imperfections and some cattle that maybe weren't 100% ready. And I try to always keep that in mind, especially they told me probably 75% of these steers are going to go custom. So we really need to look at, many of you weren't here during the show, but I handled the steers quite a lot. I'm at a huge disadvantage. I get to see these steers one day in their life. And as I talked earlier today, the 3 things that go into finishing a steer is days on feed, age, and genetics. I know nothing of those 3, and those are the 3 things that pretty much dictate if an animal is going to be choice or prime. Now, I'm not privy to any of that. So what I'm doing is going off of visual indicators, using my hand to handle these steers over their 12th and 13th rib, looking in their brisket, looking in their cod. Cattle finish top to bottom, front to back is how they finish. So those 12th and 13th ribs are the last to finish. Filling up in that cod area and filling up in that brisket area are the last places that they're going to fill up. So I just get to go off of visual indicators, but I tried to do my best today with every single class, whether we were red or whether we were blues, to rank them on which ones would hang the best carcass in terms of product and potential carcass grade with what I get to see using visual indicators. Now within that, we start ranking these steers, and we look at structure and how they're built and some of the little extras. And I think as we get out here, I'm pretty impressed, because these steers have a lot of the extras. They've got some look. We're structurally pretty good on most of these calves out here. They've got some muscle, they've got some product, they've got loin, rump, they've got condition on them. I'm pretty confident in this group of steers out here. They're very high quality, and you guys should be commended, the breeders and the youth that are taking care of these cattle. I mean, these cattle are presented excellent. I mean, and to have this many, a lot of times you go judge a county fair and you've got a few calves, 2, 3 that are presented. You guys have had a whole bunch of them. There's a couple calves that are going to come in a minute that are presented excellent. You guys do a great job. So the teachers and the camps that these kids are going to are learning from some fitters, or however they're getting the knowledge they're getting. I can tell you they're way ahead of where I was at this point in my life. If I was their age, I certainly didn't have the ability that these kids have got. So I commend everybody for that. I'm not going to go through here and talk all these calves individually. I guess for me, we made 2 different rows here. These are my top 4 steers on this side. I've got it pretty well ranked in my head how I'm going to do it. I'm going to kind of just describe these steers out here very briefly. I'm not going to go into great detail. I will tell you that in terms of handling these steers, they handle well, all of them. It's pretty well a push. They've got condition, they've got evidence of condition, they handle right, their flanks drop. These steers are all pretty good in that aspect, so I'm not really going to talk that. This orange steer here, ideally, and I'll kind of go into this a little bit just in a second here. Nationally, we kill about 600 head of cattle between steers and heifers weekly. The national average is right now roughly right around 925 pounds carcass weight. That's equates to a 15 to 1,550 or so pound steer, depending on your dressing percentages. I think we really, in this cattle deal, need to be cognizant to make these things market ready and try to stay a little closer to the industry. We had maybe too many steers today that were on the lighter side. I challenge you guys to have your biggest class be your 13, 14, maybe 15 and a half. Have that be your biggest classes and not your 1,000 and 1,100s be your biggest classes, because we really need to push these steers. Don't worry if they get a little chubby necked. That means they're market ready. So let's think about that first and foremost. We want to put a good product in these consumers' mouths, these people that are supporting you in the auction this weekend. We want to make sure they're getting a choice or higher quality grade carcass that's going to melt in their mouth like it ought to. Because to be honest, when everybody leaves out of here tonight, they're probably not going to go and want to go celebrate and eat chicken or pork, no offense guys. They're going to go have a steak, and they want a good steak. So with that said, talk about these calves real quick. This orange calf right here, he's good in his structure when you start at the ground on him. He's got a big foot, good bone, he's got the right angles, he's good in his top, he's got some eye appeal up through that front end. You get behind this deer, big loin, big rump, nice calf. I really like him. If we could add a few hundred more pounds to this deer, we'd really be in the hunt. Nice calf. Come in here to this deer, just a striking profile on this calf. Doesn't have as much leg hair maybe as some others, maybe not quite as much bone. A nickel maybe straighten his hock on his rear end. He's got good angles up through his front, but just a beautiful profile in this deer. His neck ties in high. He's got some rib shape, excellent down his top line. He's a rib longer than several others in here. And you get behind him, and he too is explosive in his loin and his rump and his round. He's got a lot of product, and that's all four of these steers. To be honest, this whole group of steers out here, they're going to be product cattle. They've got plenty of loin, plenty of rump and round, and that's what we need. Come here into the next Charolais cross appearing steer. He's a steer that maybe gets a little bit easier in his top there. He's got a back tie right there in the middle and maybe doesn't hold his top quite as strong, but a calf too that you start the ground on him, and he's got a good foot. He's got the right angles. His neck ties in high as well. He's laying on some condition, so he's maybe just a little bit chubbier in that point of that shoulder, but that's what they're supposed to do when they get to this weight. He too, get behind him, big top, big rump, a lot of product there. We come to the black calf that he's got that extra hair on him, but I tell you, get your hands on this steer and he's all there. He too, you start at the ground, feeder pointing forward. He's got the right angles. He's got some look to him. He's got some rib shape. He too, you get behind him, he's got a big rump, big loin, a lot of turn there. So I think we've gotten these four steers, we've got a little bit of differences as I see it amongst them. I'm not going to tell you my finite opinion here till I go slap one. But I think as we look at these steers, there's little things that you can put emphasis on. And to be quite honest, not only these 9, but several others back there, if you have a personal preference of something you want to put an emphasis on, you could sure pick one of them to be your champion, because there's that much quality at this show. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and pick your champion steer. We'll bring in the second out of that class if there was, and then we'll pick your reserve. Let's go ahead and give these exhibitors, breeders, staff, everybody a huge round of applause.
Bit of a fake out from the judge.
Goes to Alana
Yeah, that was
Cleaver.
nerve-wracking. I think you could have everybody take a deep breath. So fun fact, that calf won the ranch race yesterday. So that girl bred that cow. She's done all the work from it since it hit the ground and even before that.
Really impressive.
Yeah,
We need
that's
Ellie
a huge
Huffman.
accomplishment. So now they're going to pull the second place calf in that steer into line, and he's going to look at him that way. And then he'll pick his reserve overall.
Reserve champion steer, Chad Sweat. Congratulations.
So, and that's also the one that went reserve yesterday in the ranch race. So the ranch race judge was a different judge than this judge. He was the guy that judged the sheep. So that was your grand champion ranch race, and your reserve was also your reserve ranch race from yesterday.
How common would you say that is for the ranch raised to beat out the ones that were bought?
It doesn't happen very often. It's sometimes hard to be competitive with these kids that there's a lot of kids in this ring right now that jackpot competitively all year round. So those are shows that happen all year round, and they're competitive at those shows. So it's cool to see these two kids also jackpot year round. And so it's cool to see them giving back to the industry by breeding steers that fit into the way the industry is going now. And it's cool to see that happen.
So just placing the rest of the steer now. Third, fourth.
Yeah, so I think that they'll go down to fifth overall will get a banner. And then after that, he'll keep pulling these calves in that got purples to do your sale order. So another fun fact, the boy who got third, that's my brother. And then my little sister won the pig show earlier.
Awesome. Good day for the Bloom family.
Yeah, it was a good day. It's fun.
So overall, how have your impressions of the field lined up with the judges' selections?
Yeah, I can agree with him. Like, obviously, like he said, there's personal preference, and maybe I would have flopped a couple, but there's not a calf in the top that doesn't deserve to be there, and that's nice to see. The steer show numbers this year for Klamath County, we're down a little bit. Usually we've got about 90 head, and this year there was only about 70. But I can tell you that the quality is still there. The quality of steers is still so good that it's very cool. Not a lot of county fairs have this deep of quality throughout, which is awesome to see. So what's been your favorite to watch?
I will say the sheep show was pretty intense.
Yeah.
It was very that judge really knew how to
He's amazing. Yeah.
create a little suspense.
Ellie Huffman. Cade Cleaver. Spencer Woods.
Yeah, it basically is.
All right, we're wrapping things up here with the cattle drive. They're just sort of filling out the remainder of the top 10, top 15, I guess. Mainly administrative work going on now, but definitely want to give a big thanks to Maddie Bloom for joining us, as well as our other guests who were with us today for the pigs and the goats and the sheep.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you guys. This is awesome.
Charlie Thomas.
So as the last cattle are sorted out here, I want to say once again, I'm Matt Bowling. For Josh Eldridge on the camera and computer, as well as my 4 guests who joined me for some color commentary in the booth today. I want to say thanks for tuning in and enjoy the rest of your evening. You've been watching the Klamath County 4-H Championship Drive on mybasin.com.